It sells there for 99 cents per pound. Anyways, I thought it would be interesting to try to look inside and see what's in a pomelo. So let's do it. Let's cut through it. It's a pretty good size, and my knife is small, but I think you'll find it interesting to see the inside, especially if you haven't had such a fruit before. You can see it's pretty juicy, it's pretty inviting. It has a sourish, some slightly bitter, sweet taste. I actually like it quite a bit. It's similar to the taste of a grapefruit. It has about 16 to 20 little sections like that. And characteristically for the pomelo, the white portion here between the peel and the fruit is quite thick. We're going to talk about that a little bit more soon. So let's go ahead and see what's inside a pomelo. Like I said, it's a citrus fruit, and I put here for your study nutrition facts. What is it? If we were to eat a whole pomelo fruit, about 600 grams, what we would find inside that. That's about 1.5 pounds. Well, for the amount of nutrition of food that we would ingest, 1.5 pounds, it's a lot of food. we would get quite full just by eating this whole pomelo. You see here you get about 231 calories. So the proportion between the volume of food and the number of calories is very favorable, especially for those who want to lose weight. You would get very little fat, almost no fat whatsoever, zero cholesterol. Remember, it's a plant food, so there's no cholesterol in the pomelo. You get a fair amount of potassium, 1,300 milligrams. This is more than a third of the recommended daily intake of potassium for an adult that needs 2,000 calories per day. So really generous in potassium. And by contrast, very little sodium, only 6 milligrams. In a society, at least in the Western world where we live, where most people eat a lot of salt, this is very beneficial for things like, especially for people with high blood pressure or heart failure even, or things like that, where they need more potassium and less sodium. You have a number of carbohydrates, and this is where most of the calories come from. Interestingly also, about 6 grams, over 6 grams of fiber, dietary fiber, almost a quarter of the daily need of fiber for an adult. Again, in a society where the intake of fiber is a lot less than what it should be, this is extremely beneficial. It's an excellent remedy for constipation and other issues. Furthermore, look at the amount of vitamin C that you can find in this pomelo. 619%, over 600% of the daily intake of vitamin C, of the recommended daily allowance. Now, you may wonder, why do I need so much vitamin C? And reality is you don't, but it's nice to know that even if you ate a quarter of a pomelo, you already got enough vitamin C for the day. And for what it's worth, the pomelo is not unique in this aspect when it comes to the vitamin C. Look at an orange, a medium-sized orange. It gives 138% of the daily recommended intake of vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is important in many functions in the body. There's a lot of talk during this COVID age about the value of vitamin C for immune system function, and while we don't know all the details, and there's some controversy when it comes to how much vitamin C one needs when the body is challenged by an infection, the reality is, and what we do know, is that during an infection, during an intense inflammatory process, the daily need of vitamin C jumps from about 100 milligrams to more than 1,000. And so it's beneficial to take more vitamin C. I think from here to say that it cures everything is a big step, and we have to be balanced and recognize that vitamin C is not the end of it all, but it's an important vitamin. Furthermore, as you study this list here, you'll see that there are a number of other vitamins and minerals, including zinc, interestingly, which is a rare mineral that's not so present in many foods, that you get a fair amount by eating the pomelo. And so at the end of this discussion, you may wonder, well, there is some vitamin C there, there's some fiber, there is a lot of volume and few calories, so it's beneficial in that way. But really, there is a lot of things that are not present in it. There's no fat, there's no cholesterol. And I agree with you. And I'm going to even say that what is not in the pomelo is arguably even more important than what's in it. For somebody who wants to lose weight, for somebody who wants to reduce the amount of cholesterol that they eat in their diet, having such a fruit that has zero cholesterol, that has essentially zero fat, it's a godsend. You can't get better than that. So don't look at those low numbers as necessarily negatives. Now, having said that, it's also important to recognize that one cannot live by eating pomelos alone. You have to have a variety of other foods in your diet. Last but not least, when we want to dig deeper and see what's in the pomelo, it's not enough to look at the nutrition facts alone. Remember, this nutrition label type of composition table that I presented to you here only scratches the surface, presents only the macronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, but there is a whole host of other functional foods in the pomelo. Those are phytochemicals, those are antioxidants. There are dozens and dozens of known and many more others that are yet unknown components in the pomelo, in the citrus fruit family in general, that exert protective functional functions in the body. Things like protecting from cancer, from tumor growth, from inflammation, and also some interesting effect that I'm going to end this presentation with when it comes to citrus fruit and pomelo in particular, in terms of activating a special pathway in our body. It's called the AMPK signaling pathway. See, here is a little study showing that the pomelo activates that pathway, and it's not alone. If you look at other citrus members of the citrus family, the orange or the mandarins or the lemons, grapefruit as well. What we know is that they activate this pathway, and I'm going to show you just a couple of other studies highlighting this beneficial effect. For example, this one here was published a couple of years ago in the Journal of Physiology of Biochemistry. They detail the fact that this hesperetin, which is present in a lot of the fruits in the citrus family, especially in the peel, activates this AMPK pathway. You can see here. Likewise, in grapefruit, for example, there is a component, there's a phytochemical called nutcatone that also activates the AMPK pathway. And so you may wonder, what's all this AMPK about? Well, this is a very important pathway in the energy balance in our bodies. You see, when you can think of it simplistically, I admit, but it helps. You can think of it as similar to what happens in a modern car when the level of fuel goes down in the tank. At a certain level, the red light, the fuel red light goes on, and you know that you only have that much fuel left before you need to refuel or the engine is going to stall. And so in the same manner, at a much more complex level, in our bodies, in our cells, we have sensors that are able to detect how much fuel we have left. The AMP from the AMPK stands for the adenosine monophosphate, which is the signal for low fuel. The ATP is the fuel, and when the fuel is used, it becomes AMP. So anyways, when the ratio between AMP and ATP goes up, when the AMP goes up, this pathway is activated. And what is the importance of that? Well, the body has been designed by God with an array of things that are triggered when this pathway is activated, and those are the following. The first thing that happens, the doors, figuratively speaking, in the cells open, and the blood glucose, the sugar, exits the bloodstream and the tissue and enters the cell, where it becomes fuel, and it's used to generate more energy to fuel up again. Moreover, the deposition of sugar in the muscle and in the liver tissue as glycogen is inhibited. We don't need deposits. We need to use it right away to make more energy, right? It makes sense. Thirdly, the deposition of fat in the body is inhibited, is stopped. The body knows that we're low in fuel. It doesn't make any sense to put on fat in the deposits. In fact, not only is the fat deposition inhibited, but the fat breakdown through fatty acid oxidation is stimulated, is activated. And so the fat starts to be mobilized from the deposits and broken down and used as fuel. Even the cholesterol synthesis and the protein synthesis in the cells is inhibited by this pathway. And so you can see from this simplistic presentation of this AMPK pathway how being low in fuel triggers all these beneficial effects in the body. Cholesterol goes down, the fat starts to be broken down, the blood sugar level goes down, and all of these things are metabolically very beneficial for us, especially in the world we live today. And interestingly enough, another potent activator of the AMPK pathway is physical activity, exercise. This one activates the pathway. Well, in addition to that, the pomelo and the citrus fruit activate that pathway too. So again, for people who want to lose weight, those of you who think that they need to lose a few pounds, including citrus fruit, pomelos, oranges, grapefruit, and other things like that, in your diet on a regular basis is a great strategy to do that. You can even start your meal with that. I remember when I was a kid back in Romania, there was this popular idea that if you ate a lemon a day, this would be a good strategy to lose weight. And the explanation that was given didn't make any sense. I don't even remember it. But it's interesting to see that now, as we start to understand what's happening when we eat this pomelo or grapefruit or orange or whatever citrus fruit it is that we choose, or even the lemon, there is some truth to that popular idea that I grew up with. In any case, I hope that this presentation stimulated your appetite for more citrus. It's winter now, they are in season. Go ahead and get it. And if you can stomach it, even the peel and the white portion is beneficial for you. Now, you don't want to eat a ton of it. You want to wash it really well. You want preferably to get some organic versions of citrus if you can afford and find them. But a lot of these phytochemicals and nutraceuticals are actually more rich in the peel than they are in the actual body of the flesh of the citrus fruit. One important caveat here or parenthesis is that if you take medications, especially certain types of heart medications, it's important to talk to your doctor, to your cardiologist or primary care provider, and make sure that it's okay to take citrus with those medications. Especially the grapefruit has some components in it that can interfere with how those drugs are absorbed and how they work in your system. So please do that if you decide to include more of these fruits in your diet. And last, while they can help with a lot of beneficial effects in the body, and we only scratch the surface, like I said, I'm not here to tell you that if you're going to eat a pomelo before each meal, you're going to resolve your weight issue if you do have one. This is just one small component in an overall strategy that's important to include in your lifestyle and your daily routine if you want to lose weight and keep it off. Till next time, stay wise and stay healthy.